Hey, everybody. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. Back for number 3 today. Third live stream I've had today. I got a little bit of an hour break in between, took care of some things, and here I am back at it again. Can't get enough of this stuff. I love connecting with people. That's one thing that is great about podcasts. And this is the easy thing. This is the easy part, and this is the fun. The work is when you got to start picking it apart and get into post and all the other stuff that goes along with it that isn't so much fun. But this makes it all worth it right here, being able to connect with folks all over the place. So if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, thumbs this video up. There it is, thumb up. If you're on Facebook, do me a favor also and share and like the video. Podcast platforms, this will be coming out probably in about 3 weeks to a month. When you hear this, go ahead and subscribe wherever it is that you're listening to, and that helps me to become more visible on the platforms themselves. So when I return after these messages, I am bringing on Mike Moon, who is a photographer full-time and used to be a United States Marine combat photojournalist, and that's pretty cool. Almost like in Saving Private Ryan, I believe, or one of those other movies that you'd see him doing that. So we got a real live guy that used to do that, and I've got some questions for him about that. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin.
Hey, what's up, Mike? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me and coming on to share a little bit about yourself and your story and what you do out there in the world. You and I met on Clubhouse on one of the rooms there called, what is it, Screw the Big Rooms?
Yep. I love that room. It's full of really good people.
Yeah, Mike Armstrong's the one who started that one, right?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I know that you were a photographer. You were also a combat photojournalist, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it was as cool being there doing all of that, but I mean, the stories and the things that you have to that you collected along the way must have been kind of cool.
Yeah. So, I have a weird, cool story of my life. Kind of. I kind of grew up with some a crazy childhood, some PTSD that I've kind of uncovered later in my life as a result of growing up that way. And I joined the Marine Corps in high school to get away from, frankly, my life. I kind of was aware at a very young age, that I have ADHD. So I was aware that people judged me for talking fast and acting kind of having a lot of energy. I had a hard time navigating around regular people. And so I think that between that and having a single mom that kind of drugged me between 5 stepdads and 8 boyfriends in between for 16 years, I think I just wanted to get away. I just wanted to be my own person. And so I joined the Marine Corps out of high school, my junior year. And I left for boot camp about 2 weeks after I graduated high school. I was an ROTC in high school, so I understood what the Marine Corps was about. I also knew the jobs that were available to me. So I went through the job list and I looked at all the jobs that I could have potentially. And I found one that I thought was interesting, was a 4341 combat correspondent, which is actually what Joker's job was in the movie Full Metal Jacket, about the Marine Corps, the incredible Stanley Kubrick movie. So Joker, the main character, that's what his job was, 4341. And I don't remember if I saw that movie then or not, but I did know it as being a journalist. And I got to go to Defense Information School in Indianapolis, where they taught me broadcast journalism, print journalism. I got to be a radio DJ and a television news announcer on a broadcast station thing. And then I got to pick kind of what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be a print journalist. So I volunteered for Japan to get as far away as I could from where I grew up. I grew up in Seattle, but by that point I was in Indiana in job school. And then I went to Japan for a couple of years, where I became a journalist for the base newspaper. So I would write news stories, 3 stories a week. I'd have to find my own stories, take my own pictures, interview people. And those things would go back to the hometowns of the Marines that they were from, for like feel good PR type stories for the Marine Corps. I was largely on my own. I could kind of just call up units, figure out where they were going, what they were doing, and then kind of spend time by myself, finding stories and things. So that was really awesome. It was a really fun job, and I was kind of like a celebrity among Marines, I guess, because everybody knew that I could make them famous by putting them in the paper or whatever. And so I had a lot of people that wanted me to interview them. I did that for several years, and then I became a public affairs Marine, which meant that I was doing public relations duty for the base newspaper, or for the base public affairs office. So basically we handled press queries. We did news releases for things that happened. This by now was in Los Angeles. I was in near Hollywood. And anytime the Marine Corps had any kind of interaction with Hollywood, they were filming like Independence Day back then. It was in 96, I think, 95, 96. And so I got to escort Will Smith to the flight line to get on F-18. And every time the president flew in for the 96 elections, they landed on our base. And I was the guy that went down, did the meet and greets and the grip and grins for Air Force One, stuff like that. I got to interview a lot of celebrities for different things. And so at a young age, I was really surrounded by kind of the higher levels of talent among the people around me. And I started kind of developing this idea that I've since kind of formulated about like success by osmosis of proximity. So it's kind of like this idea that when you're around people who are good at what they do, you tend to absorb greatness, and you don't necessarily have to pay attention and look for what you're absorbing. It just kind of like the mannerisms, the things they say, the way they act, you just kind of start like gaining traction of being an impressive human, I think, when you're around other people that are good at what they do. If you don't judge them in the process of evaluating them, so if you're more observational than judgmental, then you can pretty much, gain some awesome skills from anybody who's good at anything, regardless of whether or not the actual skill that they do is something that's directly attributable to what you're interested in, if that makes sense.
No, that makes absolute sense. I had that exact same thing happen to me kind of through listening to podcasts. I listened to them for 14 hours a day for 2 years straight. And all of a sudden the rabbit holes that I was going down and following from people like Joe Rogan, Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, my mindset, without my even knowing it, started shifting. Into the way that they were thinking and the things that they were saying. I started adopting those as my things that I would think. And it was kind of weird. It was the beginning of my transformation from being, the person that I was to the person that I am right now.
Yeah. And yes. And I have since then kind of seeked out greatness in people. So like, if you look at my personal friends right now, I have Jeremy. He's the national champion Magic the Gathering card player for the United States. I don't play Magic the Gathering, but when I'm hanging out with him and talking to him, I'm picking up incredible information. He's an incredible genius of a person. He went from like 0 in that world to the national champion in less than 2 years, just by like literally applying himself to that game like a chess player would or something. And now he's moving into stand-up comedy, actually, to do the same thing, kind of tackle that to the top levels. And I'm sure he'll succeed because he's awesome at it. My other, one of my best friends, my best friend probably is Adam. He's in the FBI. He was in the Marine Corps with me. He's my roommate in Japan, but he now is, been in 32 years, and he worked with the Obamas when they were in the White House, and he's got greatness surrounding him all the time. After the Marine Corps, I actually got a job with Home Depot at the stores after I graduated from college real quick. I got a degree. I was working in the stores while I was in college. I got promoted to their headquarters in Seattle. They moved me to Atlanta, promoted me 3 or 4 more times. And before I knew it, I was sitting at a table with Bob Nardelli, the CEO of Home Depot, with Carol Tomei, the highest paid woman in the world, and Dennis Donovan, the highest paid human resource guy in the world, and Craig Manier, who's the current CEO, is my direct boss for several years. So I ended up, being surrounded by those types of people and watching their interactions. And even though I wasn't at their level, I was the hand selected guy by my vice president to like take notes to those meetings. So I'd kind of sit up against the wall and just watch it all, just kind of take it all in until I had to say my piece for what I was there for. And so, that was another moment that happened. Right. And then I was doing weddings on the weekends during that time. So I ended up being a wedding photographer, which now I've done over 700 of them. It's really kind of my love in life is weddings. And I shot President Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows. I shot his wedding recently, the day after the riots in Atlanta, at the beginning of the COVID section there. The day after the riots, the day before the state of Georgia opened up groups of 10 or more, they held like 130-page wedding, or 130 people wedding with a full band. And the day after the riots, literally just smack dab in the middle of that Saturday morning. And then the Sunday was the day that Trump walked across the street with tear gas being shot at people. And Mark Meadows was right behind him to hold that Bible up for that op thing he did. That was the day after the wedding. So here Mark Meadows was sandwiched between the riots with Keisha Lance Bottoms and Killer Mike on TV asking everybody to stop burning their city down. Next day is the wedding with Mark Meadows and for his daughter. I was his photographer. And the next day, I see him on TV walking across the street, firing tear gas at people and holding up Bibles with Trump. So, like, I just find myself almost like Forrest Gump in all these places all the time, where I'm like, I try to become really present-minded. I'll be honest. I can tell stories about what I'm feeling when I'm there. I mean, I'm standing on a balcony with him, and there's 4 minutes of silence with nothing going on, and I just kind of try to breathe and say, like, how the hell did I end up here? I have no freaking clue, right? I was runner-up for Justin Bieber's wedding. We almost got his wedding. Jose Villa, the most famous wedding photographer in the world, ended up doing it. But we were in, from what I understand, we're in second place, and that was pretty cool to get that close to that. So I don't know what it is specifically that puts me in these places. I'm not wealthy. I'm a teacher, to be honest. I'm an educator. I like to surround myself with people and share what I know when I'm working at the same time in real time. So because of that, I prioritize making opportunities for mentorship over making money and promoting myself. So I don't really have a social media presence, really. I shoot television and movies. I do publicity stills, gallery images, all that kind of stuff for television and movies. I'm around, actors, famous people in those scopes as well. Yet, I'm largely unknown. So I think it's something that I enjoy being in this place. I'm more Banksy than I am like the guy. I'd rather be like, let's put it this way. When I'm watching a movie on Netflix, the thumbnail sometimes is the picture I took. And then I go to Home Depot and there's a 30-foot paintbrush there that I took in my garage. And then I go here and there's this. And I see my stuff all over the place and nobody knows who the hell it's from. And I just have kind of ended up here that way. And I just really, I don't know. I like it. I like it that way. So now everybody's telling me, you should have a podcast. You should do this. You should have that. You should teach on YouTube. You should do this. You should do that. And I was telling them, I wouldn't be as good as I am at what I am if I'd promoted myself more than I did. Because the 70,000 hours of me pressing my freaking button on a camera would have been replaced with me, telling people how great it was on YouTube, filming videos and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm, Tiger Woods of photography in my own way, but that again, I didn't promote myself at all. And so now I find myself in kind of a weird situation where I know more than everybody I know, and I love to teach it, but people question, whoa, who are you? Like, why should I listen to you? And I'm kind of like, well, you should listen to me because I know more than the other people on YouTube. And like, it really would benefit you to do that because I actually have a passion and a heart for helping people. And all of those things are sometimes counterproductive to the guy that is promoting himself all the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes absolute sense. And I mean, that's the one thing on Clubhouse that they tell you, that, give more than you take, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And, you're there to try to provide value, which is a key word, hot word right now, or at least it was about a month ago. It
Yeah.
still is. There's those key words that become popular within certain communities, value, and all the things that go with it. But I mean, it really is true. When I go there, I really like to try and give more than I take. And, sometimes I'll catch myself in periods of time, depending on what it is I'm going through or whatever attitude that I have at the time, whether it's like, I've been dealing with something and I'm like, screw this. And, I'll catch myself taking more than I'm giving, and,
Right.
and having to really check that. Right. Because
Yep.
in all the things that I've ever done, I've gotten more when I've helped people without even trying than I ever did when I'm trying to control the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. And the other thing I'm starting to find is that sometimes I'm using people when I don't know I'm using them. Like I'm trying to find a hook for how they can benefit me, even though I'm sharing what I know with them. It's almost like I expect something in return, but I'm not doing it consciously because I'm not like that. I'm not a greedy person. I'm not a user of people. I'm not a narcissist or a sociopath necessarily. So I might be a sociopath. I do have the ability to turn my emotions on and off on purpose, which I apparently is a sociopath. But at the same time, it's my motives are always pure, and I have a pretty strong moral compass and quite a bit of integrity, I guess, as a human.
Mm-hmm.
So what I find is that hang on, my dog's gonna go crazy here in a second because there's someone walking up. I find that I want to share, and I have to consciously make sure that I'm not trying to get anything back in return, because I can't be my authentic self if I'm concentrating on what's coming back my way. And I think authenticity is what sells Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse, the differentiator between Clubhouse and Facebook is that authenticity sells on Clubhouse and followership on Clubhouse. Hey, hold on. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Followership on Clubhouse is more important than it's more important to be authentic if you want followers. Whereas Facebook, you can, like, your followers can just be, hey, I want you to entertain me. Like, let's say Instagram. I want you to entertain me on my lunch break. So I want to make you my follower. Will you take her inside, honey? And Instagram is more authentic, where I think people follow you because they're interested in the content of what you have, and they find value in what you say, and they're interested in knowing, if he's smart, I wonder who he hangs out with. I want to see what the circles he travels in. And I'm interested in learning more from the people that value his input the same way I do or whatnot. And I think that Clubhouse is very unique that way. I think it's the first time I've ever seen a social media platform where authenticity trumps, bullshit, frankly. Everything else is not that,
Yeah, it's crazy. What I experienced on there is when it really has changed the game for me in terms of like who I've connected with because of my story, and telling it in a way that, where I don't hold back anything. I don't hold back from telling people that I used to be an abusive person, that, I was a manipulative person. When you talked about, you know, am I doing this for the right reasons? I'm constantly having to re-examine what I'm doing, because I used to be such a manipulative person, and everybody was an asset and a means to an end for me, whether it was a male, female. If you didn't serve a purpose in my life to get me somewhere further than I wanted to be, then I discarded you like the trash. And it becoming self-aware of being that person and being willing to share that with other people, because there are other people out there that are still struggling with people like that and don't know how to get away from them.
Yeah. 100%. And to be honest, I've been discarded multiple times by people that I trusted and cared about. 2 times in the last 6-7 years. I built 2 businesses with 2 business partners. One was a business guy who was not an artist. I already had my business before I met him, but he came along like, hey, let's, multiply it. Let's make more money together. And we succeeded. We made good money, and we made upwards of $600,000-$700,000 a year in weddings. I taught 18 people to do what I do with a manual that I wrote, a 50-page manual for how to shoot weddings that I still hand out for free these days to people, and never sold it to this, never made a penny on it pretty much up until now. And I built this big like empire based on my skills and talent and multiplying myself with others and all that. And then when we got really successful, it was kind of like, well, I got everything I need. I'm a business guy. I want more money. I'm tired of giving you half of it. Get the hell out. Come fight me for it. And it was like, I just said no. I just said, I'm not going to fight anybody. I'll leave and start over again. You can't have me. Well, my name had been trademarked by that point against my own knowledge. There'd been money that had been passed that I wasn't aware of behind the scenes. And so in the end, I walked away, and it's called Mike Moon Studio, and it's in frickin' Georgia. And my name's Mike Moon, and I'm not there. I got nothing to do with it. And I had to leave my name because I didn't want to fight for it. And people were like, you should fight for it. You should get it back. And I'm like, I kind of got used to not having it, to be honest. And now, yeah, I'll probably claim it back in the future again. But again, I started a new business, my Ember Weddings, Ember Studio, and taught a person to do all of it. And fast forward 2.5 years later, and that person knows what he's doing, and now he wants all to himself, and largely the same story. And now I blame myself, because the first time it was like, yeah, I made a mistake. I was taking advantage of it. The second time, I did it again. I tried to share my journey with somebody, and I'll be honest with you, I don't fucking believe in business partners at all. I'll never have another one the rest of my life. Screw them. I mean, I don't buy it. I don't think anybody can be successful with another person and actually not just somehow like increase in greed along the way. And I'm not a money guy. I'm broken like that. I'm literally broken. Like, I grew up with a mom that was super hot, and she was like 19 years older than me, and she bounced me between rich guys. And so we'd be like, one guy had an airplane that he flew to work and landed in the garage off the runway. And then we'd be in a crappy apartment. And then we would the next guy has a sailboat, and then we're in a crappy apartment again. And so what I realized growing up is that money didn't mean shit. It didn't make people happy. The guys, my stepdads that were the richest were the most miserable. And so I started devaluing money at a young age and not giving a shit about it. And I've kind of tried to share my experience as a professional with other people that feel that way, that don't value it too much. And so far I failed. I found 2 people that aren't like that. And for me, man, I'm ready to just get more comfortable, I guess, somehow, some way. And it's going to be by myself, and I'm okay with that. And I'm 47. I'm not that old yet. See, I mean, I guess young people think that's old. That's not old. I mean, I got another 20 years to figure it out. And I've made so many mistakes. I can't make more. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm literally at the top. Like, what I do for a living is in the top of 4 fields in photography. Like, I shoot product photography for Home Depot's website out of my garage. I shoot television and movies. I shoot weddings. I shoot branding photography for Fortune 500. Yet, I haven't found wealth. Go explain it. I don't know. You know why? Because I've chased being the best in the world at everything I do over being rich. And that drive for mastery of being a photographer, of being the technician, being the journeyman. My dad is a sheet metal worker. Brilliant. My brother is a journeyman sheet metal worker, and he has a museum in Tacoma to his work, and he's good at what he does. And they both learned from other people. They didn't have YouTube to do that. And so I think my family chases expertise in our craft above fame and fortune. And I think that it was passed down to me somehow that is more noble. And I've spent a long time doing that, getting really, 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 really good at things I do. And what happens, you get the respect of other people who are really good at what they do. And you get the envy and jealousy of people that I guess feel they can't be as good as me. But what they don't understand is it's not always gifted. I think people confuse hard work with gift all the freaking time. And I'm so over it, because I'm like, dude, if you took 70,000 hours of photography, if you had 93 terabytes of hard drives with 3.1 million photos on them like I do, you'd be good. But can you get there if you stop short after 4 or 5 years and start marketing yourself on YouTube and adding your opinions and repackaging shit that you already learned from somebody else on YouTube and reselling it back and forth? Will you ever be as good as me? No, you'll never be as good as me. I promise. It's impossible, because you got to practice. You got to practice more than you sell yourself. Marketing, I believe marketing is slowing down the ability to become great at what you do, to make more money faster while you're learning to be great at what you do slower. That's what marketing is.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what do they say? It takes how many hours? 10,000
They say
hours.
10,000, but it's more. It's more. I mean, I did the math. I have 30 to 40,000 just in weddings. And if you add that to television and movies, and you add that, if you take 30 years of shooting photography, well over 40 hours a week, like, it's 10,000 hours is just enough to, I guess, call yourself an expert at what you do, maybe. But
I think 10,000 is just. I think 10,000 is just like your base level of anything that you're doing that you can consider yourself competent, right? Yes. Like I can competently do this job, and I can show up at a customer's location and convince them by what I do that I know what I'm doing. That's about it. Now, the rest of it, you know what I mean, takes, you've got clientele that you build up over time. You've got rapport. You've got all of these other things, from word of mouth. If you're a good person and you're good at what you do, and if you've mastered your skill, the word of mouth is really going to push you along the way, right? You don't even have to really worry about the marketing aspect of it.
That's how I've made a living for 30 years, is word of mouth, honestly. I mean, I haven't marketed anything. And now I'm finding that the word of mouth doesn't work as consistently without some self-promotion as it used to. Self-promotion is more important to being successful now than it's ever been. And that is a reversal of authenticity.
But I think a lot of that has to do with how saturated the market is with so many people that now if anybody pulls up a camera, gets a Sony A6, A7, and I'll be honest with you. I'm a licensed drone pilot. I was doing aerial photography for listing agents for a while, and I go, oh, well, since I'm doing that, then I might as well, and since I have a DSLR, I might as well start doing interior photography, right? Mm-hmm. No, I have no idea how to do interior photography. I don't know what all of the aperture and all this other stuff. I mean, aside from my drone, what all that stuff does. I bought some books that try to teach me, and I was like, Jesus, this is freaking Greek to me. I have no idea. And so I went and I booked somebody, and guess what? It was somebody that knew what they were doing and knew that I didn't know what I was doing, and got called out on the spot, and was like, oh. That'll make you humble real quick, right? There's a little bit of humility there, because I couldn't say I did because she knew I didn't, and so I ended up losing the whole job, and the part that I did know how to do. So if I would have just stuck to what I knew to begin with, instead of going into things that I don't, I may not have got the job because they wanted somebody to do both. But I mean, then I probably shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Yeah. And back to the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps, what they teach you, hands down, the one thing that the Marine Corps, they think the service is all the same. They're like, oh, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, they're all similar. They're very, very different. They have completely different missions, completely different training, completely different skill sets, they're just different. The Marine Corps is the tip of the spear. The Marine Corps are the very first. They're the ones that come in from the water. They clear the land, right? Once they clear the land and make it safe, then the Navy comes in with the Seabees, they build runways. Then the people land on the runways and they take over. The Marines, meanwhile, are still moving forward, clearing on the way when they go. Now, what the Marine Corps teaches you to be successful is to adapt and overcome. So when you try something, if you'll make mistakes, when you make mistakes, you don't repeat your mistakes, but you're not afraid to readjust your focus and go back forward, taking the things that worked and applying them to your new strategy, and then revising how you go forward from there. It's kind of like, if you can't go around a wall, you go over it. If you can't go over it, you go through it. You blow a hole, but you blow a hole small. You make sure it doesn't kill people around you when you do it. You run through the hole. There's another wall. You go around the wall. If you can't go around the wall, you go over the wall. You just keep doing it. And so when you look at my career as a photographer, I've literally tackled multiple industries of photography, just like a Marine in a combat field, nonstop, with my head down, without ever looking at the internet or without ever seeing a single thing that anybody did. And then I look up to see everybody calling themselves awesome at everything. And I'm like, but I don't think that's awesome what you're doing. But it's like, but I got this many followers. And it's like, but I don't think you're very good at what you do. And so like, it's just, you know, if I could tell people anything, young people, I would say, guy, give it 20 years. It's not going to happen in 3. It's not going to happen in 4. Like, quit acting like it needs to. Quit beating yourself up when you don't get there that fast. Like, just get good at something and enjoy it, and enjoy the process. Like, enjoy the day-to-day real time, you know? Like, don't live in the future. Don't live in the past. Don't regret your mistakes so much you can't freaking pay attention to what the hell's in front of you in real time. Don't think about what you're heading for so closely and so specifically. You know, the worst thing that anybody says to anybody nowadays, and it's the most bullshit advice, and I just can't stand it, is, oh, before you do anything, figure out what you do, make sure that you specify exactly what it is, figure out who your client is, figure out what you're going to charge, calculate everything. Don't start till you have this big giant plan in effect. Well, guess what? That shit's not going to happen. All that shit, all that time you spend planning shit that you have no control over, you're not doing anything. Like, just go do shit. Go do shit a lot. And while you do it, you'll figure out who your customer is. You'll figure out what your future lies. Your future will come to you in real time as you do shit. But if you spend your time planning what you're going to do, you'll never do anything. And the world is full of people now that don't do shit except talk about what they do.
Or what they're planning on doing.
What they're planning on doing. What they think they're doing. Like, who they think they are. It's like, no, you don't fucking know who you are because you haven't done anything long enough to figure out what you are. Like, It just takes time. It's like, it takes everybody that much time. It worked for horseshoes in 1876. It worked for everything else in the 1900s, and it works the same in 2021. You're not any different. You're not going to be a millionaire by the time you're 30. You're just not, unless you, I don't know, crack the cryptocurrency train. I guess that's possible. But,
or become such a big YouTuber that, you know, and become a overnight success. But I mean, you're right. Most
like
things,
winning the lottery.
Yeah. Most things I think the one thing that I would say out of that is, I mean, if you really want to be successful, find the thing that you love that doesn't feel like work and try to make that your work.
Yes. Love your work. That's why I love weddings. Listen, people bash weddings. Photographers bash weddings. You know what? I don't give a shit. Weddings are the Marine Corps boot camp of photography. If you can do weddings for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you'll be a better photographer than everybody you know. Because weddings are nonstop. It's photojournalism, it's portraiture, it's timekeeper, it's celebrity, it's planner, it's best friend of the bride, it's family member of the families, it's you know, you're on a stage when you step there. You have to deal with vastly changing light conditions constantly. Like, you have to know your equipment so well that your hand can set up the settings before you even like decide what you're trying to do. That's the only way you can be creative, is if you can free your creative mind by putting your hands into muscle memory. If you want to learn how to play the guitar well, you can just find a song and practice it to get laid, or you can actually practice a chord and you can get really good at it, okay? And then you can practice another chord and get really good at it. And then you can practice moving between 2 chords and get really good at it. And then you can add a 3rd chord and then move between 3 chords and get really good at it. And then you can go find a song that uses those 3 chords, and then you can try to play it. And if you do that, it's called deliberate practice. Malcolm Gladwell talks about it in The Outliers. It'll make you better like 5-10 times quicker. That's all I've done is do a little bit of practice. My hand puts my camera in settings without me thinking about it. That's it. If I walk in a dimly lit orange room, I know I'm going to override the ambient by 75%. Okay. I know that because that orange light is low CRI value. It's bad quality lighting. It misses 30% of the color spectrum. It means I'm going to lose all the pink out of their cheeks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to underexpose my picture 2/3 on purpose. When I do that, the color 3200 Kelvin is going to go away, and I'm going to replace it with 5600 Kelvin flash. When I do that, the 5600 Kelvin flash takes over 75% of the lighting conditions from the 3200 Kelvin, which means my camera goes into 4700 Kelvin. The off-camera flash is on a half. My setting is 1/400th of a second, 4.0, ISO 400. That will do roughly a 2/3 override of a dimly lit orange room and give me perfect color and camera. But I don't need to think about that. I just walk in a room and go, oh, this is an orange room. It's a barn with orange wood, and it's got ugly orange lights. Great. My setting is 1/250th of a second, aperture 4.0, ISO 400. My camera flash is on 1/2. My camera set on 3700 or 4700 Kelvin. That's it. And my hand like puts it in there, and then I'm like, they're cutting the cake, and I'm not thinking about it. And now I'm being creative. Now I'm like, I want to change lenses. I want to do a different shot at this time with the cake, or I want to go over here and do this. And so, as an artist, you get so much better, so much quicker when your body can develop muscle memory, so it does things without your brain thinking about it. When that happens, your brain can play. And you can't get there until you get to 30, 40, 50,000 hours.
Yeah. That's where you have that auto response, just like like you say, muscle memory, auto response. It's time and consistency in situations and learning, being able to draw from memory and from experience as to, oh, I remember this situation back in whatever. What did I do? Oh yeah, that's what I did. Boom.
Yeah. I remember doing that 4 times. That didn't work. But that one time I did that one thing, it worked again. This looks the same as that. Let me do that again.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Repeat your successes and ignore the failures. Move on.
So here's something that I see often, because I'm looking online for different things. Like I said, I'm a licensed drone pilot, and so I look for drone jobs sometimes to see just kind of what's out there in my local area. And what's been popping up a lot lately is these companies that are hiring out wedding photographers, because it's the season right now, and they're hiring out people that they say that they want people that have wedding whatever, but it's just a company that's booking, and they're hiring what do they call those, independent contractors. They're going to 1099 you, and they want you to have a drone and experience and all that stuff. So that's got to be the most annoying thing, because drones are loud. They're not quiet.
Right.
Why would you it would like interrupt the whole thing to have a Phantom 4 Pro zipping around the wedding and doing all that. It'd be a huge distraction.
Yeah, I actually, I just bought a drone last week. Actually, I got a job for. They said, can you take a picture of this private school? Do you have drone? Do you know how to use a drone? Do you have drone capability? I said, yeah, I know, I have it, and I didn't. And they said, well, how much do you charge? I said, $2,000. They said, that's too much. We got 1,000. I said, great, $1,000, fine, let's do it. They said, can I see some experience, some drone stuff? I said, I've done it for companies. I don't have the footage to show you, but I promise I can do it. And they're like, okay. So I went and I bought a drone. I bought a DJI Air 2, Mavic Air 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I practiced one day, and then I had the job in the morning, and I went, and I was doing well. They had a lot of trees around, and I did some shots where I got behind the tree and I let the tree reveal the school. So it's kind of like the drone is blocking, the tree is like moving, right? The wind is like, and then as the drone comes by, it's like my hand goes over here, and then it like, now the school's revealed, right? And you can see the school. So it's kind of like panning around the trees. And then bam, I hit a tree. It falls 50 feet. It's in 10 pieces. Luckily, I bought the $69 replacement plan thing, so now it's in the mail. And I crashed the drone on my first job ever, but I got the footage, and they said they love it. So that's my drone experience. I had one day, and I destroyed my drone. My $1,000 drone.
Well, at least you made the $1,000 to pay for the drone.
I did. I know. That's why I did it, because I was like, if I can pay for the drone with the first job, then that's cool. Then I have a drone that I can use for future jobs, So
did you turn on the sensors where it doesn't?
Okay, so I crashed in the tree twice actually that morning. The first time I was in sport mode and I didn't realize it and the sensors were off. The second time it turns the sensors on, but I think they broke in the first crash. So then they didn't do anything. And then I backed into a tree again. Now, how it happened is I came down over the trees and then I wanted to do a pullback shot where I was pulling back and the trees would kind of reveal themselves under the drone as it pulled back. And that's where I ended up backing into trees. So what I'm finding is it's that thrill. It's that thrill in your stomach when you're flying backwards and you know there's trees back there, but you're watching your elevation and you're like, okay, I know those trees they're not taller than 200 feet. So if I quickly get to that 200 feet level and I don't hit any trees on the way back, then I'm going to be safe, except I did hit a tree. So that fear of like backing up when you can't see behind you in a drone for a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a cool shot, but I gotta tell you, it's like, dude, I think I just about shat my pants in the whole concept of like hitting a tree backwards without realizing it and just seeing it in real time on the screen. It's terrifying.
Oh yeah, it gives you anxiety for sure.
Oh, it's awful.
I was doing that. Like I lived in an area that had a bunch of kite surfers that would come through, and I was doing footage of them, but I couldn't get down low enough to do the shots that I wanted because they're kite strings, and they were all over the place. There's usually like 40 or 50 of them. So it's like, there was no way. And the only way that I probably could is if I put somebody out on my jet ski and use them as where I would keep the drone above them.
Yeah.
The kiters would stay away from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
because you had the wire, because you had the ropes that you told me, you had like the strings of all the kites and stuff, and you're in between there trying to do something. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, that's why I didn't do it, because there was no way to get low enough, because you can't tell how's everybody going to know what I'm doing?
Right.
You know, so if I put the jet ski out there, and I didn't get a chance to try it out, but I was like, well, if I put the jet ski out there, they'll stay away from that. So if I put the drone on top of the jet ski and then have the kiter come towards me,
yeah,
I can get the footage that I want, maybe. But I mean, I got some other stuff. It's on my YouTube channel of me being above and following them around and doing some other stuff. But yeah, it gets to be like, there's anxiety that goes along with it. And I think the best way that I've ever been able to do it is with the glasses, with the FPV, the goggles.
Yeah.
And once you get to using that, I mean, it's like it's almost like virtual reality. And so when you move your head, you move the camera moves with your head. It goes up and down with your head. And so you literally can toggle the sticks and go slowly and just pan around as if you're literally looking at it yourself.
Oh, that's so much nicer, because that stupid little wheel that pans the drone head up and down while you're trying to pan left and you're trying to like move the drone head up and down, like the camera. That little wheel that moves the camera up and down is such a pain in the ass to use in combination with a pan movement or something. It's like
jerky.
It's jerky, and it's really hard to be subtle with it. It's like so touchy. You know?
You have to have those 10,000 hours in order to be able to work those controls and have that muscle memory for your fingers, just like you're talking about.
You do, and it's scary as shit. How many times have you crashed them before?
Never.
You've never crashed one? And I crashed it twice on the first day. I think because I'm a risk taker. I just like take risks. I didn't even bother to try to be super careful. It's horrible.
Well, what I normally do is like when I know that there's trees around, I'll go, and before I would usually figure out what I'm going to do and have a plan and see what's in place and what's in the way and sort of walk the whole area. And then I would go and see what the elevation of the trees were, so I knew where I would clear them at. And so as I'm looking at all my instruments and elevation and whatever they call altitude, I know where I'm at. But I usually try to stay away from trees.
Oh, I'm gonna have to stay the hell away from them too. This private school is surrounded by trees, so it's really, really hard to stay away from trees. But the trees gave the reveal of the school front. Like I want that panning reveal shot. It's like I'm a DP, right? I want to see that camera movement. So that's incidentally what I'm starting to get into now is DPing. I'm starting to find that my lighting knowledge and my framing is super valuable to when I go on set. So I'm going to be on a movie tomorrow, actually. Inevitably, every time I show up on a movie, the DPs, if they know me, they're super excited to have me, and they ask for my opinion about even where to put their cameras sometimes. And if they don't know me, I flip them shots of what I'm doing, and they quickly become like super enamored by it, because I actually edit and deliver pictures before I leave usually. So they can't believe how fast the turnaround is. And they can't believe how easy it is for me to get so many different looks so quickly when they'll spend 45 minutes putting a camera op into one place. And, you know, everything's so slow. Everything's so bloated. Everything is so badly done on a movie set that I come in there and I'm just like fast and creative, and they're like, "Oh, you inspire me," you know. I was on this movie called
You
Southern
provide so
Gospel.
much value.
Oh, dude, completely. I went on Southern Gospel, which is one of the biggest movies I've been on. It was like a $5 million movie. I think it filmed it in roughly April last year. I haven't been anything bigger than that, but the DP, her name is Carmen Cabana, and she's from Narcos. That's her bigger show, I think, that she does. And I was there about an hour, and I showed her some pictures. I flipped her some shots, and she's like, "Oh my God, these are stunning. And they already have our lux. What did you do?" And I said, "Well, I asked you what the picture looked like, and I just took my camera and went into that color field. So like when I take pictures, it has that green hue to it that you have in your finished shots. I have that when I'm taking them in real time." And she's like, "Oh my God, you make me want to film a movie in vertical." And she's like, she tells her camera operator, "Go put your camera where Mike has this picture." And he looks at me like, "Who the fuck are you?" Right? I've been in there like 10 minutes. And I'm like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Just show me the picture, man." And I show him, and he's like, "What are you doing? You put it down, what? The camera's on the ground. You're looking at, you're shooting around a door frame. Is that what you're doing?" And I'm like, "That's what I did." And he's like, "All right, I need to get my camera on the ground. I need a pigeon plate, you know." And he's like, "There, we don't have it." And he's like, "Grr," and he's all mad. And now everybody in the set's mad at me because Carmen Cabana loves me. And I'm like, "I didn't mean this. I'm sorry." So after this happens time and time and time again, basically, I got to be a fucking DP. I got to get on a set and just put the lights where they need to go and just do everything for people, because I can do it for cheaper and faster, because I don't play that stupid game that they do where they take so many turns all the time. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. I think they're so inefficient. They like, sometimes I want to throw up in the back of my throat a little bit when they like, and how inefficient they are. Like, I'm just like, "Oh God, what a bad idea. Like, why are you doing that way?" Like, "Oh God, it's such a horror." Like, no, you know, it's like, but this is how we do it. We have 80 people and we all do one thing each, and we don't cross over into each other's lanes at all. And we all have Stockholm syndrome because the producers make all the fucking money and we just work our asses off for nothing. And we all do it because we do it for each other. We're all a crew together, you know. And it's like, man, this industry's fucked.
Well, one tip I was going to give you about the drone is that sometimes, like for me, coming down and in is I control that really good. But sometimes I want the shot to go back out and up. Yep. And so what I do is just do it in reverse and post.
Okay, that's better, because it is easier to go in and down than out and up.
Yeah. Sure. You know, and then sometimes when you're trying to get that one where you're just pulling out, and so you're going back in full speed, but you're also elevating at the same time. So you're going.
You got the sticks going opposite, like one's up, one's down, and you're like.
Yeah. You just gotta be able to play. You gotta play around with it and mess around with it. Like I have one that I went to Utah. The same situation. There was a trees all over the place, and I had to figure out how to like maneuver between them and not like get in them, and it was really annoying. But I have to finish that. I'm not looking forward to doing the post on that one. so I've been putting it off as far as like doing it.
It's fun, but it's nerve-wracking. It throws some adrenaline your way. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no doubt about it.
All right. Well, we're at about 48 minutes, and I know it's getting late where you're at. You're on the East Coast, right? Or yep. So yeah, for sure, it's getting around 9 o'clock where you're at. I could see the sun was up when we started, and now it's gone.
Yeah, it was. I saw that. I was like, "Am I still going to be able to be seen when the sun goes down?" You know, I didn't even know. I'm just sitting on my porch, so I got cars driving by every now and then. But
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's the cool thing about where we're at today is that we can do anything from anywhere now, and there's no really right or wrong way to do a live stream, to do a podcast, to do anything. It's just whatever works for you, and bringing good content, good stories, and everything is really what the bottom line is if you're bringing good content, then who cares how you did it?
Yeah. And I hope we didn't talk a lot about advice. I mean, to be honest, I'm I'm a broken person in many ways. I'm willing to talk about how I'm broken a lot, but I'm not. I don't love telling people how to do things. It's not really my bag. You know what I mean? I think everybody figures out how to do things their own way based on failures, and I think that failures are the way that you succeed. I think it's how you figure out. I think Edison said something like, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found out 10,000 things that didn't work, or something like that. Like it's like, it really is. That is true. Like, that's not just bullshit. That is actually how life works. And if I had any advice for people younger than myself, it would be to listen to people older than yourself in the careers that you want to be in, because they've made all those mistakes. And I know the youth always underestimates the value of wisdom, but that's literally how you save yourself from having the same pain that we had in figuring it out the hard way. And if you can spare yourself from that, you can advance your success much quicker in any industry. Surround yourself with people that have been doing what they do for a long time, if you can, and people who you recognize as good at what they do. And don't judge what they're doing that they're good at. Just observe that they're good at it, and then believe that they can bring value to you, even if it's not specifically what you're interested in doing quite so much, or the exact thing, if that makes sense.
Well, everybody's got. I mean, there's dues, right? There's dues in everything, and
Yeah.
you have to pay your dues. Everyone has to eat a little bit of crow before they can have pheasant, and
Mm-hmm.
it's I agree with that 100%. And you have to learn, and the magic is in the struggle of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's no struggle, and you're not learning anything, and if you're not learning, you're not growing, and if you're not growing, you're going nowhere.
Yeah, and I say staying outside the bullseye. Like, the bullseye is your safety zone. That's where you can do the job every time the way it is and get it done well enough. Stay outside of that. Stay in the uncomfort zone where you're constantly trying new things and it sucks. Like, if you're practicing doing something and you enjoy it while you're doing it, you're probably not deliberate practicing, you're probably practicing. And the difference between practice and deliberate practice is that deliberate practice usually isn't as fun as practice, but it develops your skills much quicker. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go read The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. He goes into depth about it. I think Malcolm Gladwell is the smartest man alive probably today. And he's extremely good at explaining concepts in an entertaining manner. So, I mean, he's kind of my go-to guy for being inspired for pragmatic truths that kind of resonate as deeply important to my understanding of how to succeed.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then also too, all of the books that you recommended are available with direct links to Amazon, my affiliate. So if you want to help support the show, buy through the affiliate link on Amazon, and also your free PDF the manual
Yeah,
for.
the wedding manual.
Yeah, that's available there too as well.
That's amazing. And if anybody downloads the wedding manual and you're on Clubhouse, I just got the send me money button today. I'm pretty proud. I don't know how the hell I ended up with it, but I got it today. Which means if you get the manual, I promise the manual is good. I have enough reviews telling me that it's life-changing, actually. And I have also taught probably 20 people to shoot weddings with it very quickly. So I know it's effective. It's all out of my head. I wrote that manual in a day and a half without a single note taken. I literally just sat down and took it out of my head and wrote it piece by piece. And I know it's effective because it's the only reason I could write it that quick without planning it was that I've done it so many times effectively that it was muscle memory by that point. And so, it's not a video, it's on paper. You got to read it and look at it. You don't have to memorize it all. Just, it's something to kind of be aware of what you don't know. So when you see the things that you should be getting, you kind of just slowly develop those into your tasks or whatever, daily. Like you make sure that the next wedding you shoot, you're going to incorporate a few more things from that manual that you need to get. But it will walk you through an entire timeline on a wedding for the entire day. It'll give you all the shots you need. It'll give you all the settings you need. And if you find it valuable, then go on Clubhouse and send me some money for it, whatever you think it's worth. Because I've never made any money on it. And hey, maybe I can someday.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do and your story. Really appreciate it. You guys want to follow him on Instagram? I got it right up here on the screen. Like I said, you can go to the description, and direct links to everything that Mike gave me is there. My next broadcast is going to be next Monday. I got 2 of them lined up for you, and I will be in Florida from my hotel room doing these live streams. So I'm lucky enough to have been asked on a big show called Concrete that films live down in it's a YouTube channel in Florida. They got about 400,000 YouTube subscribers. So looking forward to that.
Amazing. Thank you for having me so much. I hope I brought some value. I never know how much to talk about myself or talk about other things. So I appreciate you having me.
No worries, man. And anytime you want to come back, man, just let me know and we'll hook it up. And definitely be happy to have you on again and cover some of the other things that I know we share in common that we didn't get to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, brother. And to everybody else out there, as usual, keep it 100. Stay true to yourself, because everything else is just noise.
Amazing. Good night.
Good night, brother.
You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved. To connect to the show, book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up. On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast. See you next time.